job is to what? Move you to consciousness so you can start to think about these terms. And you formulate your own perspective on it. Ain't no problem, you know, from that standpoint. Okay. I got that. See, I couldn't be no, I marvel at Doc Collins. Because see, I couldn't straddle the line with y'all. I got to tell you the truth. Now, Doc Collins, I have to be a little bit more palatable. But I don't play no games with you because at the end of the day, and I told Doc this story yesterday, young female actually at Southern University Metro years ago told me something. She said, Craig, me and my girlfriend will turn you out. I said, excuse me? What? Yeah, so-called proponent of homosexuality. And so I said, excuse me? And so I said, sister, there's nothing that you or your girlfriend can do to me that my heterosexual female is not. And I said, excuse me. I said, let me ask you something. Have you ever heard the story? No, I asked her first, did she believe in this concept of God? She said, yeah. So I said, is your God perfect? She said, yeah. I said, so can you add or subtract from perfection? She said, no. I said, if you can't add or subtract from perfection, have you heard the story of Sodom and Gomorrah? She said, yeah. I said, well, in Scripture, God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah for perverted sexual acts, boom, boom, cheating activity. I said, you remember that? She said, maybe. I said, now look, let me ask you this question. When you and your girlfriend get together, do you all use certain instruments that would be reflective of male genitalia? And she said, yeah. She said, you got to have penetration. I said, that's my point. So now, if you know that, how do you now explain your overall act? She had never thought about it. She never thought about it. And so what I'm trying to tell you is, I'm like, look, most of what people, and this is so sad because Whitney Houston, Bobby Houston's child, Christina, I told the class yesterday, had already been to drug rehab. Now, they've been to drug rehab because you had two unconscious parents having a child. Both parents were on cocaine, and now the child goes through the same process. So most of what you as a child grow up doing, and if there's no discipline in the household, you're going to start to formulate this identity as if it's yours. He's like, I'm homo. I'm 4 years old. My cousin used to play with some damn dogs and wear a damn dress. I started busting beside his head and said, get out of them damn dresses and stop wearing them, playing with those dolls. Now his head digging that church. Now, if he had to go back, he would tell you, I ain't never played with no dolls and dressed up like a female. But these are things that, boom, he ain't had no male around, no man around. His mother was allowing him to do this. And so if we had not broke him up from those things, he could have easily now gone into another way. Now you say, well, what does it have to do with economics? It has everything to do with everything because when you're unconscious, you start to do certain things as a child. And now, child, you're not forced to take out trash. You're not forced to clean your bed. What starts to happen as that child gets older? Okay, so now the child is 13, you have a dinner party. Hey, Jerome, take out that trash. You take the damn trash out. Oh, no, it ain't going to be no wish you would because you might as well not even front because you don't force him to do that.
My 2-year-old helped take that.
I understand, but we're not talking about specific, but we're talking about how this progresses. The child now moves based on the overall aspect of how this rolls. If you have not conditioned a child to be disciplined, he's not going to be disciplined, and the same for the female. So now, if you start to teach a child about entrepreneurship, if you start to teach a child about culture, guess what? He's going or she's going to do that. And if you don't, you're in trouble. Because in this society, there's so many images and messages that children are given. Oh man, without spirituality and culture, your child is through in this game. Yeah? Through. They don't even get a chance. They don't even get a chance. 2 crackheads having a child. Child ain't got a chance. Already infected before he even comes into the world. Okay, you know, yep, look, ooh, he's so cute, boom, boom, got special needs, ooh, you so cute. You get to be 18, now they say you are, how the hell is he a man? We ain't even discussed the term man. So what is man? What is man? Ain't never thought about it. 18-year-old, you're a man, you're a man. What is a woman? These are terms y'all ain't never even been taught. And so now, how in the world can you be a man just because you're going out and having sex with a chick and now she has a baby? Those are male and female functions. Those are not man and woman functions exclusively. Any male and female, if they're not physiologically infertile, they can have children. But now we start to get into words like accountability and responsibility. And so now you start to look at these 6 pillars of empowerment: spirituality, culture, education, economics, social equity, politics. And now you start to see to be man is a lot more responsibility than you've ever been taught. To be woman is a lot more responsibility than you've ever been taught. So now, when you're at Southern University and I say, well, what do you want to do? You now say more than just get a job. Because now, if the place fires you, what do? Go look for another job. You get fired again, go look for another job. Well, guess what? The way this game is going right now, you see a lot of these jobs overseas. Now what you going to do? How do you make your own job? Ooh. But Mr. Lee, I am majoring in biokinetic such and such. I'm radiologic technology. You better check the hospitals. They laying off too. Ask Mr. Collins, they laying off to his son. He teaching them how to take furloughs. So how do you create a job? How do you do that? See, this is where we get into. Alright, so now we dealt with some of the terminology and whatnot. We dealt with okay.
I just want to go back to a point that you made earlier. Was that even though you may grow up in a disadvantaged household, that does not mean that you cannot be a success.
Oh, absolutely.
In the century. So I think, I mean, and that, you know, that's one phraseology that I think that sometimes is, you know, is blunt of course, because you can have 2 crackhead parents and then you yourself can turn out to be a successful individual.
Yeah.
No problem.
Absolutely.
So there's more of an environmental impact as you move from one environment to the other that has impact, and then you have your personal desire to move out of that.
Absolutely.
Because I know my generation has shown, you know, going through the 50s and 60s and so on, that as we were held down, many of us came up. So even though we were beaten down and denied a lot of information, that became that. I just want to add that part because I know you did mention that, but I just want to say just because you had that because the child grew up in a at-risk family doesn't mean that child
Yeah, there's 2 things I want to point out to you on that. A, spirituality and culture is the only prevention of that, number 1. Number 2, even though that's not an absolute statement, when we start talking about statistical, empirical evidence, the likelihood that a child will come out of a 2-parent crack environment and be productive is very, very rare.
But
now,
it's
possible.
It was improving.
It's not impossible, but it's improbable. And so when I'm talking about how we can impact society, not finding those small examples. Because so let's say that person comes out of that situation. If he hasn't gone through these 6 pillars of empowerment, I don't care what he does, how much money he makes, he's still not going to impact society due to the mere fact that without spirituality and culture, you're not going to be able to direct your power and potential. Let me give you a prime example. Oprah Winfrey came out of such an environment. She's a billionaire, right? Now, Oprah Winfrey has made more money by herself now than Malcolm X, Martin Luther King,